Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm Izzy. Nice
Hey,
to
Izzy.
meet you.
I'm Jay.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for giving me some of your time.
Of course.
You
Where
folks,
are you guys based?
I'm in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, East Coast.
East Coast?
East Coast, yeah.
Nice. Right on. We're playing in Montreal for the first time in November 15th, I think.
Okay.
14th.
Have you been there before or no?
I've only been to Vancouver.
Oh,
but I
really?
love Canada.
Okay.
The food there was so good, and it was like more affordable than the US.
Yeah.
I'm also I was used to San Francisco prices, which are like the worst food prices in Canada. But,
Okay.
yeah.
If you like food, you'll love Montreal. It's like a melting pot. It's actually a little fascinating little strange city for Canada, really. So yeah,
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Scarlett. Hey, nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you, Jay.
Yeah, Scarlett, I was just talking to Izzy about Montreal. She mentioned you guys are heading out there.
We're about to be there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Tons of good food out there.
Really? What do you recommend?
I would recommend, so if you got the time, there's a part of the city called Park X.
Park X. Don't we have extra days off in Montreal?
We have 3 days, which
That's right.
Oh man, we have
we have extra time. Park X. Okay, so we can definitely go there.
Yeah, if you got 3 days, you can get a 3-day Metro pass, and I would go up to the Park X where it's like this. It's Greek. It's this community of Greek immigrants and Indian immigrants mixed together, and the food there is off the charts.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah,
Park X.
I would check that out. Park X. Yeah.
Sick.
All right, now we're interviewing you.
Yeah, I used to live there for a bit, so that's why I know.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in St. John, New Brunswick, East Coast of Canada. Yeah. Halifax kind of has a cool indie alt rock scene too, and you guys would probably fit in there pretty good with the kind of shoegazy thing. If you ever make it all the way to Halifax, I'd check that place out.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
Maybe we'll
This is just coffee, by the way. It's not alcohol. It's just a
Hey, no judgment on my end.
Cheers.
Speaking of no judgment.
Go for it.
Girl, I'm jealous. Where are you?
Chokecherry, we drink and we smoke at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Sam's house.
I'm coming. I'm on my way.
Yeah. Interviews canceled.
Interviews on Zoom in the car, and then we can have a cigarette on the porch together.
Yeah, let's just dive right in and talk about the EP Messy Star coming out on October 25th.
Absolutely.
Yeah, on Fearless Records. That must feel pretty good.
Feels amazing. We love Fearless. Our team is the sweetest, and they're really incredible, and we're so lucky that we get to work with them. Do
you mind mentioning just kind of how Fearless discovered you, or how maybe you approached Fearless? How would you like to go about that?
Fearless discovered us. We had a couple labels who were interested in us when Glassjaw went viral, and people kind of flew out or came up or came to our shows when we were playing in other cities. And we were playing a show at Bottom of the Hill in San Francisco for Halloween. We were all dressed kind of as Bratz dolls in Ross Dressed for Less Bratz shirts. And Chris Rojas came up, and we had an offer the next day. And we were like, what? And he was incredibly sweet, and we've really bonded with our team, and but they just have so much faith in us, and we love that about them, because I feel at some labels, they like you and they're excited about you and they want to sign you, but you can get a little bit lost, and they gun for us every single time. So
okay,
yeah.
Would you say there's trust there? They trust you guys? Yeah.
I think so. They really trust our vision and have been super supportive in whatever visual world we're creating, musical world. And I remember they left a significantly good impression on our director Brie, who directs Brianna Lynch, who directs has directed all the music videos for the Messy Star EP.
Cool.
And they were we trust your vision completely. And that's just the energy that we get from Fearless, is that they just kind of let us cook, and they support us.
Also, musically, they trust our vision completely too.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, artistically, they've a lot of trust there.
Very cool. When I first heard the EP, or the songs that are available anyway, it kind of gave me British, I know the shoegaze vibe is there, but it kind of gave me the engineering kind of had this British vibe going on.
That's so interesting.
That is interesting. I don't think we've heard that before.
Yeah, that's a new one. I was just listening to like a lot of 90s kind of Brit shoegaze last night, and then I kind of fell down a Brian Jonestown Massacre hole, but as one does. But that's really interesting. I feel like a lot of really incredible artists in our genre that we love came out of England in the 90s.
Yeah, specifically for this EP too, I think we were super inspired by the Cranberries, like vocally. I know they're not like British, but kind of that UK sound.
Yeah, Broadcast is a huge
yeah, for real. And then I've always loved like the British post-punk bands like Shame. Yeah, Shame is a huge one as far as like guitar tone and guitar arrangement. Yeah. So yay, thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. I think it's the guitar tones that maybe made me think that on the EP, on the songs I've heard, the big kind of like reverby guitar sound. Sometimes it sounds like there's an acoustic guitar kind of tucked in behind everything.
There is, yeah. There is. So for not for No Other Place, I don't think we did acoustics for that, but for Afterglow, we put acoustics over a vast majority of it. And then for this song we're working on right now for our upcoming album, we're doing acoustic guitars tucked in. And it's just like, it creates such a nice layer, and like, I don't know, there's something really cool about it.
Yeah.
In Afterglow, at the end, our producer Sarah suggested that we just do like, we put one mic in the room and Scarlett and I sing together with an acoustic guitar, and it would just create
one take
moments. It brought me back to like, I don't know, the first like very, you know, the nascent days of like guitar playing and like playing in bands with like friends in high school, and just kind of like that innocent, like cool moment that feels like unadulterated.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's something about it that just, it hit. I remember looking at you as and like, I started crying. I cry a lot. It's not like, you know, some big news flash, but I think that there was just something so moving about it. And the way that was recorded. Shout out Sarah Tudson. She produced Afterglow and another track on the upcoming EP called I Know You. Okay. And we did additional production with Zach Tush.
Okay. Afterglow, I love actually like, the way like the hard pan vocal harmonies are happening, and then it goes into that kind of heavier dark part.
Yeah.
You're so cool. You really like, that's awesome that you really love the music and like you really listen to it.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't ask for I wouldn't want to interview someone I wasn't really like listening to.
Thank you. That's sick.
So you have multiple producers? Is it so? How do you like balance that?
Yeah. So our first producer ever was Christopher Grant,
who we're working with right now.
Yeah, he produced Glassjaw and Around, and then for the EP we just work with Zach Tish and Sarah Tidson, and then we're doing a similar thing with the album where we're working with several producers, which is really fun because I feel like you get like. I feel like the more heads in a room kind of like
totally
can contribute to some really cool ideas, and they didn't work like together in the same room, but like kind of getting different perspectives from like here and there help shape the music too.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think eventually like we'll probably do an album with maybe one producer, but for now we're like in the mismatch.
I like it too. I think that especially in early stages, like as a band, we're really introducing people to like our worlds and our music. We have a set of songs called the Lisas that are more like a concept. And so it's kind of like those would all go together in like a way that I feel like it'd be fun to work with one person, especially just for the first two, like with one person to like really solidify that world and that sound. And the third Lisa, I feel like we could go a lot of places with that. But anyway, that's another story. The point is it's kind of fun in this early stage as a band to really like hone in on different tones, different approaches, and really see what works for different songs and different pieces. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And does that affect the songwriting too? Do the different producers kind of offer different suggestions or arrangement suggestions?
Yeah, I feel like out of the two, Zach was more hands-on, so we wrote a song with him. We wrote Another Place with him in the studio, and that was the first time we ever like got into the studio, wrote a song from scratch, and then like a few days later had a track. Yeah, which is also what we're doing right now. It's a really interesting way to write. So I feel like we usually just write things like in the studio, like the three of us or the four of us, depending on like we have a second guitarist. And I feel like things can kind of, we have like the instincts that like we know we want to go with, but putting another person in the room and writing that way like opens itself up to like things we maybe wouldn't have thought of like instinctually.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, we usually write on our own, like jamming. We usually just jam on and then we get a song.
And sometimes we'll have like scenarios where one of us, like me or Izzy, will bring in something and then we'll build from there. And it's like, it's always so fascinating to see what comes out of like jamming and building on it, because it always goes so many different places than I could have ever expected.
Yeah, I always find I like asking about way musicians or artists balance feeling versus like what sounds good. Like you mentioned earlier, like doing that that take, both of you singing in one microphone. Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting balance to strike. I always say that our music, like, it feels very honest because like we've both sung in other projects, have other projects, and have different approaches, and we kind of wanted to blend the hard and soft for this one. And so I feel like we touch on like a lot of themes or a lot of even like vocal motifs that maybe hit us harder and aren't just like yelling or aren't just bravado or performing. It's interesting. It's hard to balance feeling sometimes. I remember when I was first jamming on what became Afterglow in this living room, I was like sobbing and I couldn't get through the words. And I didn't want to bring it in. And Izzy pulled it out of me and was like, "What are the words?" And I said them really fast. And then she was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah." So it was interesting, you know, and then finally getting to a place where like I was comfortable enough to be like, okay, let's put our heads together. What do we do for the second verse? How do we change things lyrically? How do we do it? And like getting past that initial vulnerability in certain aspects of songwriting. But yeah, I think we're very feelings based. I always love melody first sort of songwriting. That's like how I go to, whether it's guitar melody or vocal melody. But we build out songs in different ways. Some of our songs have, like, all three releases were written in one night. Messy Star, we hacked at it for a while until we got the version that we released. So, you know, there's different approaches for sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting, like, the vulnerability aspect too, I always like to ask about, because like it's kind of like what you just said. You had this really intense moment when you're writing the song and you want to be as vulnerable as possible, probably because people say like the best art comes from vulnerability. But then at some moment you have to realize, okay, now I'm going to give this vulnerability to everyone else. Like I'm going to put it out there in the world, and it can be pretty scary.
Yeah. I kind of just think that no one's ever gonna, I mean, even if everyone listens, I go, it's, you know, there's so much in the world, and what is it? You know, I just kind of, that's the only way I can let it happen. And then it happens. And of course, everyone listens. So you go, or all you people, you know, rather. But I remember at Viva Pomona, there was this one kid who came up to me and we were talking about Afterglow, and he's like, yeah, like I'm going through this terrible breakup and I'm completely to blame for my entire situation. And all I do is listen to Afterglow and stare at the wall. And I was like, hey, that's why I was like, that's exactly why that happened. So, you know, it's funny. And it's very powerful, funny and not like a ha way, but like, it's very powerful the way that it touches people. Like it touches people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Izzy, do you write lyrics as well? Like, do you both write the lyrics?
We do. Yeah.
We do everything together.
Mm-hmm. It's super cool. I feel like, well, we still front our own bands, but this was a really cool, like, it's been a really cool exercise in like bringing two worlds together, and like, you know, kind of, we have like a lot of like congruent feelings, and I feel like it meshes together really well. But yeah, like lyrically, the process is always different. Like, yeah, sometimes like it all comes out of you, and then sometimes like you have a song that like has this certain vibe and you're like, okay, like now you're assigning meaning to it later. Like I'm really vague with the way I write lyrics. Like a lot of it's like very abstract. And then when people are like, okay, what's this about? I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like the human experience, everything. Nothing.
Is it more about how the syllables kind of like sound and feel coming out of your mouth, or?
Sometimes, yeah. I feel like that has been something that I've been trying to get better at lately. There's this band called Twen, that I love. Their album One Stop Shop is incredible. And they like, it kind of almost sounds like they're singing in a different language because of the emphasis on the vocal sound and like how those like sounds can evoke emotion instead of like words. And I think that's super cool. Cocteau Twins does it too. That's another huge influence that we have. But yeah, I think, you know, we are kind of our push to like write real words sometimes. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, when we wrote No Other Place with Zach Tush, for the first day when we were figuring out the vocals, we were like mushmouth vocals and just kind of going with like sounds of words. And our group chat with him is now called, well, it has Cocteau Twins in it. Okay. I don't know. It's a slightly embarrassing name, but it has Cocteau Twins in the title because that's exactly what ended up happening. That's what we did. And that's how we got that result. But yeah, different approaches. But sometimes the vagueness is cool too because you can ascribe your own meaning to it. So like for Glassjaw, our music video, our producer Bree, Breelyn, shout out Breelyn. I know we already did, but we're going to do it twice. She had a very different idea of Glassjaw and fighting and what that song was about and how it was like struggling with the internal self and insecurities and all of this, and like took that concept and ran with it for the music video. And we were like, hell yeah, that's amazing. How cool is that? So sometimes when things are a little bit less on the nose or open to interpretation, it's cool that people can ascribe their own meaning to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It can connect with people in different ways, which is kind of like, you know, art is a very subjective, personal experience for the most part.
Totally.
So how do you, when you're hunting, like the tones and stuff on the album are so nice and pretty lush. Like, are you tone hunters, or do you leave that up to the audio engineers?
Izzie is the tone master.
I love tones. I think that's like, when I like listen to a song, I think the first thing that really grabs me is the tone. Mostly ours, but yeah, our tones are very inspired by like My Bloody Valentine. We skew hardcore sometimes, and we're hardcore-ish, hardcore inspired. But Turnstile has some great guitar tones that like I love to, you know, emulate sometimes. And yeah, I think like tone is a huge part of our sound, and it always has been from day one.
Okay.
I play out of a Vox AC-15, which cool. I love. But for a lot of our recordings with Christopher Grant, we play out of a Music Man, which also is like one of my favorite amps in the world. Oh my God. Amp used by like so many of the guitarists that we admire, like John Dwyer of the OCs. And one day I'll get one. But right now I'm at a Vox. I will upgrade soon. But yeah, Zach Tush and had like incredible guitar tone knowledge too. So for that one, we played out of an Orange Head and like a Marshall cab. And then we also used this custom, the heaviest amp you'll ever carry in your life. But it's blanking on like what exactly it was, but it was like a weird like custom built amp.
Okay.
He also used it for a band he recorded. I think they're called Initiate. Maybe don't quote me on that. But they're also out of SoCal, which is cool. I'm from Ventura, so I was like, yay. Okay. He's recorded a lot of bands that, like a band from the drummer, like we went to high school together. So it's like, it was really cool to kind of like go back to that scene and like be among that again. Kind of getting off track, but yeah, guitar tone is very important to us. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the snare tone too on the recordings. Maybe there's some sample like stuff going like a little bit, but maybe there's like it just sounds like it's nice and cracky. And
it depends on the track. Yeah. But I think Zach Tush used samples for some of the tracks. But
used samples for Messy Star.
Messy Star.
The verses he like spliced together. some drum samples, and then the drums were live, played by our drummer Aubrey Crucito in the choruses, and then we it was really cool because we were trying to like have this one world be the verse and be kind of like have it be trip hoppy and cool, and then it like burst into this like rock anthem in the chorus.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to blend the two, Aubrey's playing like hi-hats on the entire song, so the tones mesh together well.
Okay.
But as far as other samples, I don't think we used any.
Yeah, it definitely sounds good when everything kicks in with the huge guitar tones and the drums are, it's kind of that balance where like everything's huge, but you can still hear everything, and the vocals are kind of like riding the wave across the guitar. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think
Very
that's
cool.
like, that's what we love about like, you know, shoegaze and like this, the lush guitar tone, you know, that we're going for, and that is like embodied by so many bands that we love, is that like, you know, when the vocal sits on it in that ethereal way, it just is like such a cool contrast. But yeah, we always love making the tones heavy as possible, like 10 guitar tracks.
Yep.
Yeah. Just stack them high.
Yep.
Oh, stacked, dude.
Yeah. Very cool. Are you hitting the road with Destroy Boys?
We are.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's another band I just listened to. I just discovered for myself, you know, like a couple months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
They're sick.
They're amazing. We went on tour with them earlier in the year as well. And we're going to be going this time with Destroy Boys, Sasami, who's incredible, and Teen Mortgage, who we haven't played with. But it's going to be, it's going to be really cool.
Very
really cool run, really cool build. Destroy Boys is incredible. They're darling friends of ours too.
Okay, awesome. Is that a
Really love on the road with them.
North American run or just West Coast? Or
Full North America plus Montreal and Vancouver.
nice.
And Toronto.
And Toronto.
And Toronto, yeah. That's
I'm
very cool.
stoked. It's our biggest tour ever. I think
Okay.
we're going to be on the road for like a month and a half, including some headline dates that start October 19th at the Roxy, and then October 20th, Rickshaw Stop. Then we do Sacramento and Bellingham. And then we start on the day that our EP releases with Destroy Boys in Seattle.
So that'll be a release show with Destroy Boys, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good timing. Like,
It's great timing. It's divine timing.
That's so cool. Awesome. Well, congratulations. Yeah, the songs I've heard so far, I'm just kind of waiting, you know, for the full EP to come out to hear the other tunes, and pretty excited to spin them here on my show.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Maybe,
Thanks for having us. Jeff.
Oh yeah, no problem. Maybe I just wanted to ask one last question. Maybe we can circle back to the Brian Jonestown massacre.
Ooh.
Have you seen the documentary they did with the Dandy Warhols?
Yeah, not only have I seen the documentary, I interviewed Anton Newcomb at Psyched Radio.
What? Really?
In person. Yeah, so I did radio for a minute. I did KXSF in San Francisco, and then I co-founded Psyched Radio San Francisco with a group of former KXSF people because we all left in solidarity.
Okay.
And when BJM came to the Fillmore for 2 nights in San Francisco a couple years ago, you can find it on YouTube. There's an interview with me and him on YouTube where I am absolutely terrified.
Okay.
I was sitting there and I had watched every interview he'd ever done on YouTube. I'd watched Dig, and I just was thinking, I hope this guy doesn't,
Yeah.
flip out on me. I hope he's all right, And he came in. He wasn't in the best mood, but we had a beer. He took off his glasses and he gave a really lovely interview and talked a lot about so many meaningful things. But yeah, it was. Yeah, big fan. Big
Wow,
fan.
that's really cool. I didn't expect that answer.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Messy Star out on October 25th. Very exciting. And then Montreal is not too far away where I'm at. So anyone listening, jump in your cars and head to Montreal. What's the
Please come
date?
through.
That's November. Did you say November 5th? I can look at it. I can look it up and cut it into the.
Wait, is this live on radio?
No, it's not live. No.
Oh,
No, it's not live. We're pre-recording.
Yeah, pre-recording. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Like, I think I probably said the F word.
I didn't blur out an F-bomb during like my first few weeks on
Okay.
air.
When you're
And
on the radio, yeah.
And I got in trouble.
Oh, you got in trouble. Yeah. Well, it's hard if you're not used to it. You're just kind of like.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't. I was looking for a timestamp and it happened. And I was
Okay.
like, yeah, baby me was terrified. This is in 2020.
So November 12th, I think I saw it here
November
for Montreal.
12th.
November 12th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Izzy. Thanks a lot, Scarlett. Everyone check out Chokecherry, and maybe
Hell
we'll
yeah,
see you on the road
thank you so
sometime.
much. Absolutely. We'll see you there. Thank you so
Awesome.
much for such a lovely interview.
Yeah, no problem.
you. Have a good day.
See ya.
Bye.